Hi everyone, and welcome to our live Q&A session about the master's program we have at the University of Glasgow in archaeology. My name is Claudia Glatz. I'm a professor of archaeology, and my role here today is as a postgraduate talk convener, which means I sort of oversee the different master's programs that are running in the department. So we'll now go through and have our program conveners and our students that are joining us introduce themselves. So Ian, if you could start, please.
Yeah, hello. I'm Dr. Ian Banks, and I'm the convener for the Conflict Archaeology and Heritage MSc. And I've been running this for about 15 years now. It's quite some time. And my background is very much as an archaeologist. My work has covered large chunks of the world, and most of my work at the moment is in Finland and also relates to POW camps. Also on the course will be Professor Tony Pollard, and I'll pass on now to Finn.
Hi, my name's Finn. I'm a current student at the University of Glasgow doing the top postgraduate MSc in archaeology. I did my undergraduate here as well, so I guess this is my 5th year here. God, time flies. Yeah, I'll just pass on quickly to Caroline next, or Louisa.
I think it might be me. I'm Dr. Louisa Campbell. I am lecturer in Heritage Material Science here in archaeology at the University of Glasgow. I also did my undergrad and PhD here as well, a background in Roman archaeology, Roman material culture, and much of my work now is revolving around heritage material science and lots of different types of material culture. And I teach across the programmes, undergrad and postgrad. So, hello.
Hi everybody, I'm Nari Findlay. I'm a lecturer here in archaeology and a programme convener for the Material Culture and Artefact Studies programme, which we've been running since 2006. My background is a prehistorian, but I also have quite an eclectic range of interests and quite fascinated just by the world of stuff. So it ranges from collecting practice to exhibition projects and also the archaeologies of dementia.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Carver. I'm a current PhD student at Glasgow sitting in conflict archaeology and gender history. And I did my master's degree here last year in conflict archaeology and heritage under Ian.
Thank you very much, everyone. Unfortunately, we can't see any of you, but we look forward to seeing you all in Glasgow, hopefully next semester. But for now, we'll just go through the questions that you have posting to us already. And I hope there will be more coming through in the chat. So please submit your questions so we have things we can talk about. One of the first questions for discussion is that's come through a couple of days ago is opportunities for hands-on fieldwork or laboratory experience as part of the MSc Archaeology program. The short answer to that is yes, there is. Maybe Lisa, you could say a little bit about the laboratories and the equipment that's available for students taking that program.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have also said I am the convener of Archaeology MSc. Sorry, that was neglected on my part. Yeah, we have lots of opportunities for laboratory-based experience in that programme and also the material culture programme as well. We work a lot with artefacts, for example. We have access to different artefacts. We're using a lot of our new equipment. We have really specialised microscopic light microscopy. We have portable X-ray fluorescence. We have Raman spectroscopy. We're just about to take possession of a new FTIR, which is all very long names for scientific equipment that helps us to understand our material culture better. So certainly in the laboratory, we have lots of these hands-on types of experiences. We also have lots of other equipment as well. So we have drones for understanding the environment that we're working in for field work. And we have GPS systems as well, for example. We have lots of digital, we have lots of digital expertise as well. So lots of equipment in that side of things as well as our laboratories. And again, the MSc program is really quite a flexible program as well. If anyone's interested, we can work with you can effectively build your own program through that degree program as well as in specific fields of expertise. So lots of different options and diversity and flexibility there.
Thank you.
I just add as well that we also have lots of opportunities for students to work on research projects with staff in the department, and not just in terms of archaeological fieldwork in the field, but we've also got quite a lot of active ongoing legacy projects and archiving of collections and material. And in addition to quite extensive collections of artefacts that we use within the department itself, we also can access material in the Hunterian Museum, and we work closely with colleagues and other regional museums across Scotland as well to access artefacts for students, but also to promote employability for our students as well. And some of those individuals will come and talk on the programs and be teaching and delivering sessions on some of our programs too.
Yeah, and similarly with conflict archaeology, we have collections of material that Tony and I have excavated over the years, which are available for people to work on. And one of the things that we've always tried to do is, when there is an opportunity for field work, that we make sure that the students have access to that. So we've had a lot of students go off and work at Waterloo Uncovered. We have also had students working at Culloden, and there's a possibility of some Culloden work coming up this year as well. But certainly there are opportunities in all of these master's programs to get some real hands-on experience.
Excellent, thank you. We should also maybe say that if there are laboratory equipment that you would want to use or acquire expertise in that we don't necessarily have in the department, there's also options for collaboration with other departments in the university, such as geosciences, etc. So let's maybe move to one of the questions in the chat now, and here's an intro one. What are the differences between archaeology and conflict archaeology, and could I move from one to the other? So I think that's maybe an
I mean, conflict archaeology is a part of archaeology. It's a subset within archaeology. So in certain respects, there's no real difference. The main thing is that archaeology, as you'll be aware, tends to kind of deal with features that are present within the ground. They're dealing with artifact scatters and those sort of things. We deal very much with artifact scatters. We deal with the distribution of materials across a battlefield, but it's very much at a surface level rather than stripping off the surface and then getting down to the archaeology. Ours is very much in a surface level. But the other thing about conflict archaeology is it's not just about battlefields, it's very much about the impact of conflict on society. So it's about the infrastructure that supports conflict, it's about the impact on individuals, it's about the artifacts, how they are used, how they are amended to make them useful, and so on. And one of the things that Tony and I are working on at the moment with a Ukrainian university is looking at the impact of the current war on people in the Ukraine at the moment, in Ukraine, and how they are using the materials of warfare that are all around them to carry on with their lives, to adapt to it, and so on. So briefly, that's the difference between archaeology and conflict archaeology. We do tend to deal a lot more with very much more modern topics. So, obviously somebody like Kenny Brophy is working on very modern materials as well. In terms of how you're able to, whether you can move from one to the other, that's very easy, because all of the programs are really a kind of hub and spoke sort of a thing. So we'll have core courses, but you can take any courses that are being offered within archaeology if you're doing the archaeology course, if you're doing the conflict archaeology course, and if you're doing one of the other courses, you can take a conflict archaeology course quite happily. We also offer access to a load of history ones as well, if that's what floats your boat. And for reasons that are far too gory to go into at the moment, I'm currently based in history rather than in archaeology. They're the ones that pay my bills. So, but that's really hopefully the answer to your question there.
Yeah, I would also kind of add on there as well that in the MSc in archaeology is a really flexible programme as well. So you can effectively, as Ian says, it's kind of a bespoke degree you could actually create for yourself there in a sense, as long as you're doing the core courses, which actually are really kind of generic for everyone, really important critical skills that you'll gather from those as well. But you can actually determine what your own passion and interest is, so you can jump into different courses that will build up to create your degree programme, or you can go for the kind of established programmes that we have as well. So we cover things like landscape archaeology, digital archaeology, Celtic and Viking archaeology. So there's crossover there as well, and you can effectively either take a defined programme or have that flexibility and progress particular areas of interest that you have and that you're passionate about, and that kind of helps you to build up a diverse kind of set of skills as well, and a broad understanding of our discipline and how we practice archaeology across these different really interrelated and diverse fields of expertise. We do have quite a diverse range of expertise in our academic colleagues here in archaeology. So,
if I can just come in there as well, I think some of the key things that distinguish the programmes are also sort of core modules that are bespoke to each individual programme. And also too, again, this sort of is just to reiterate what Lisa was saying about the flexibility of optional modules for students. I'd like to flag as well that for material culture and artefact studies, we have quite a different final assessment pathway, which is a vocational pathway which has a substantial work placement with a heritage provider. It's often a local museum, it can be a commercial archaeological unit or a cultural heritage institution like Historic Environment Scotland. So for that programme, we have a choice that students make between doing a research dissertation or a more vocational substantial placement, and which is accompanied by another piece of work, which is either a research report or a student exhibition design. And the research report is often submitted in the form of a mock journal article. It can be a specialist report, a specialist artefact study, for example, or a student exhibition design. And some of our students have actually designed and implemented cases working with some of our placement professionals. So each of the programs have quite different specifications in terms of their core modules, but that information's quite readily available on the website as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for your detailed responses. I think that's an interesting question here for our students. Could the students, so it's Brian asking, could the students tell us why they took their specific courses and if they turned out to be what expected, or were there surprises from what they previously studied? Maybe Finn, you could answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the reason I'm doing the MSci, which is the more general one, is that beyond an interest in human mobility, I didn't come into this with a specific area or angle I really wanted to take. And as the lecturers have said, it is really a sort of build your own master's kind of program. Like, you've got a lot of selection you can pick from in it. that's been really good. It's helped me narrow down areas I'm interested in. It's helped me develop how I consider archaeology more generally. Yeah, I would say it's roughly what I've expected. It was very well advertised. I think the only thing I didn't expect, which is a good thing, is actually quite how broad it ended up being. Like, it's really very applicable to anything you would particularly want to do with archaeology. Yeah, I think that's my answer.
Thank you. Caroline,
Yeah.
would you like to add something?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I chose the conflict archaeology course because I was sort of interested. I was struggling picking in my undergrad when I did archaeology and anthropology, I was sort of struggling to pick a period of time or something. And I ended up taking a course on like the archaeology of destruction, and then on the conflict archaeology course, and picked that because that was sort of the field I wanted to, I guess, get more specific in. I'd say it turned out to be what I expected. I'd say it's quite different. Well, it's not horribly different from an undergraduate course, except obviously a lot more intense and a lot more in detail. But then I'd say the dissertation is sort of the big deviation, or it was for me at least, because I didn't do one in my undergrad. So I think that would be sort of the biggest difference. I think maybe one of the things I wasn't expecting was it is quite a broad course in terms of you get the ability to sort of sit and listen to different things. But I think because it is only a year, it is still quite short, and you are, I think, a bit limited. And sometimes I think because I had 5 mandatory courses out of 6 that I was sort of able to do. So I only got 1 sort of extra course on at the end. So I think that was the only sort of thing I wasn't quite expecting. But yeah.
Thank you. I hope this answers Brian's question. There's one from another participant who was asking, how long does field work usually last? So I think that might be a question to clear up, that there is no mandatory field work as such attached, as far as I'm aware, in any of the programs. But there are always opportunities to participate in different staff field work, but also potentially outside of the university. So if Ian, Louisa, and Nari have any examples of students who have participated in staff field work, that would be a great moment to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had students who've also worked on departmental field schools and field projects as part of some of their work experience, for example, working on archaeological finds and finds processing. And again, we've supported students who've done some of the work placements up in Orkney, working on excavations as well, as part of their final sort of degree component as part of the Material Culture and Artefact Studies programme. So there's often lots of opportunities for students to get involved. I think it's also important that a lot of our graduates also then go on to work in field archaeology, some of them with their placement providers when they've done placements with commercial units. But again, we're 100% behind students trying to improve the amount of experience that they get. There's often lots of other opportunities to participate in research field work as well.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. And there's lots of opportunities for you to do post-excavation work, because we really advocate for a broad kind of range of skills that you'll come out with, and graduate attributes that give you professional skills, so that you're able to enhance your employability as well. So all these rich fieldwork opportunities and working in museums and with collections as well is all really, really useful for your attributes, but also it helps to guide you to your eventual dissertation topic, because all these broad, diverse kind of ways of engaging with the discipline helps you to kind of pin down what your own interests are in particular, and it helps with deciding whether you want to do a work placement, for example, on the material culture side, or a defined dissertation on a topic you're really interested in. So lots of these opportunities kind of they intertwine, and they're really useful on a broader scale.
Yeah. And I mean, as I said, we have got a very tight connection with Waterloo Uncovered. So there's generally opportunities to go and work there. And you've got a variety of different things that you can do there, working with artifacts, working with geophysicists, working with the excavation team, working with survey teams and so on. So there's a lot of opportunities with that. But there are also kind of ad hoc things that crop up where, you know, it's not something that we've been expected, so we can't actually build it in. But in the past, we were approached by what was then the Royal Commission for Ancient and Historical Monuments of Scotland, who's now part of Historic Environment Scotland. Sorry about the word soup there. But they approached us, and we had all of our students that particular year. They went out and spent a week out surveying with the Commission, surveying parts of the coastal defences along the Clyde. So they're actually creating part of the built heritage record. They're actually making the materials which other people can then work on in the future. But it is very much, it depends. And I see one of the other questions there is that, you know, how are you going to know that there's field work for people to join? Believe me, we will be telling you. All of us, you know, if we've got a project going, we will be looking for people to come along. So don't worry about missing out on things. We will be making it very clear. Yeah, we've got something for you to do. We've got something for you to join in. Please do come along. And you may find that you've got an embarrassment of riches, that you're having to choose between whose project you're actually going to go on. So I like, you know, you should have picked up from some of the other answers. It's not just a question of excavation. There's a full range of archaeological approaches. You get an opportunity to do them. So if you're much more interested in lab work, there's going to be opportunities for lab work. If you're very interested in artifacts, you've got the artifacts to deal with. There's so much that you can actually do, which isn't just getting muddy in a field.
Although that is part of the charm, for sure, getting in a field.
I just wanted to also highlight the opportunities, just following on from Ian's comment there as well, about we do have things that come up on occasion that we're not necessarily aware of, but we also are involved in quite a lot of community engagement programs as well.
Yeah.
So there's things like the opportunities that come up for, if you're particularly interested in community engagement, that you can be volunteering as a guide on certain sites, or be helping, you know, educational programs as well that come into that. So for Govan Old, for example, we've often looking for, you know, people to become involved in that, and that's an annual program that, you know, there's lots of opportunities there in different fields of interest. So things like that come up as well that are useful.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for weighing in here with another question from a third potential applicant. So he's asking whether the 1 year master's program involves research or can involve research, or only the lessons or the classes. And again, the short answer is absolutely. There is research to be done, particularly for education across the different programs, but also potentially smaller research projects built into courses as well. But we'll let Ian, Louisa, and Nari answer in more detail for their programs.
Yeah, I mean, for conflict archaeology, the research element is the dissertation. And as Carolyn knows full well, this is all very much about doing a piece of genuine research, something that is potentially going to be referred to by other researchers, because this is something which is a valid piece of research. It's something that nobody has done before. It is something which is adding to what we actually know about the past. It's not a question of just regurgitating what everybody else has already done. This is actual genuine research. Now, I noticed that, you know, part of your question is that possible to do the lesson and the research in a year collectively? Absolutely. We have 2 semesters where we do the teaching. And then across the summer is when you do nothing but dissertation. And certainly what we do in conflict archaeology is we start off hammering home how important it is to start thinking early about your dissertation and to get a head start and get on with it from day one, so that you're not actually necessarily writing it, but you're beginning to form your ideas, and you're doing a kind of a risk assessment about what material is actually out there for you to work with. Is this actually going to be something that you can achieve? And one of the things that you will definitely need to be doing is thinking about the fact that, this all has to fit into a particular word count, and it has to fit into a certain amount of time. So coming up with a proposal that's going to require 3 years and a PhD funding to do, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something that can be done within effectively a 3-month window, and which, despite that, is actually making a genuine contribution to archaeological knowledge.
Louisa,
I think
Marie, would you?
Yeah, just to pick up on that, I think it's also that because of the flexibility that we have in our programs at PGT level, we can also then target individual topics in terms of smaller pieces of assessment work to develop student skills that then can lead into their final dissertation work. And we've also done that for students on independent study modules, for example, where we've mentored students with external specialists to develop skills and techniques, as well as working with staff within the university on particular topics, which also can give students a grounding and a stepping stone into new areas which they can take forward for the dissertations. So some of our research-led classes also have a really strong element of individual research, which again work quite well to support students as they're moving forward in terms of their own independent research development, to pick up and explore concepts and ideas, and also some of the more methodological and other types of knowledge base to make that dissertation and final assessment really productive for them.
Yeah, again, I would echo that. And what we do is, in all the courses really, is you're getting an opportunity to enhance your research skills as you go on. Your independent research and critical thinking is built into all of your assessments, so that you're prepared for this big piece of independent research at the end, through your dissertation. And you do have that entire summer period to do that and really get passionately kind of engaged with the topic that you've chosen. But you're supported throughout that process. So these courses that you're doing will start to refine your thinking and the things that you are particularly developing a particular interest in. And so you'll be supported through that process by a supervisor who has the relevant expertise to help you through that process, and who will support and mentor you through all aspects of that and into the dissertation. Some of the courses we have, certainly Heritage Material Science and the Material Culture side of things, is we also help you to develop skills in report writing as well. So that all feeds into another skill set, which is slightly different potentially to just writing an essay, for example. Is a completely different sort of skill set, and you're working to certain protocols and standards, for example. So all of these are really important skills, so that you might want then to build that into your dissertation if you're depending on the topic you're dealing with.
So got a follow-on question. So are there opportunities for students to present their research at conferences or publish in academic journals? I think I can answer the first part of the oral convener. So there is a postgraduate conference in archaeology that takes place every year in late May or so. So at the time when you will have done some work towards your dissertation, but will get feedback from your peers and from your supervisors, but other members of staff as well. And as to publishing in academic journals, that's something that would probably happen after you've done your dissertation. And if the work is of a quality that's publishable, I think all your supervisors, all our members of staff who are supervising students would be very happy to support that journey towards academic publication. for successful projects.
Yeah, can I chip in there? For conflict archaeology, there's a biannual international conference called Fields of Conflict, which started off in Glasgow in 2000. And there's a kind of a postgraduate one version of that, which is rather patronisingly called Baby Folk. But that has allowed people to get their first opportunities to present in public. And it's a mixture of postgrads at master's level, at PhD level, and it's also researchers and so on. So it's a very good opportunity to allow people to get that kind of experience. We also, I'm the editor of called the Journal of Conflict Archaeology, and several of our past master's students have worked their master's dissertations up into something of publishable quality and have been published in the journal. So yeah, there definitely are opportunities, but it very much depends on you pushing forward yourself and making sure that what you're doing is producing something which is really going to fulfill the academic criteria. But yeah, we do have opportunities.
I would like to add, you do actually quite regularly get emails through from various undergraduate journals asking for abstracts. Whether or not you're accepted is a different matter, but there is some there that do seek out publications.
Yeah, I was just going to add, we've had students in the past who've worked up research projects that again are now published on online journals. And again, those kind of skills in terms of targeting your writing for academic publications is also something that we look at in terms of the actual structure of some of the final coursework for material culture, and also to encourage students again to see the future potential research that they do. And also quite a lot of our students also go on to then do PhDs. Quite a few of them stay with us, but they also do PhDs in other subjects within the university and also other institutions. So again, we're very keen to support students' employability and having publications, and also thinking about conference presentations as one of them. And there are some internal funding sources to support students on conferences, and the Archaeological Society itself that student run is very involved also too in student conferences as well. So there's lots of opportunities there to get involved and start that academic profile development.
Yeah, and I think they recently had their conference here. The Student Society had their conference here in Glasgow just last month, I think. So that's an opportunity that they invite participation from fellow students across the country. So there's an opportunity there to spread your work more widely and get input from your peers from other institutions as well. So there are lots of opportunities. Scottish Archaeological Forum as well. They regularly hold conference they try to do it every other year if they can. So that's another opportunity if your research is of that merit and you feel you want to progress it out there, and there are opportunities to do that.
Definitely. So I've got another question here for material culture. So I'm interested in the material culture and have been very curious about the work placement opportunities. Could you elaborate a little bit, Nari, on these placements?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've run extensive placements for students over a number of years now, and we work with the student to develop their own, identify their learning outcomes for that particular placement. They've ranged from working with regional and national museums all the way through to commercial archaeological units. We've had students working with Historic Environment Scotland and working in their properties of care and collections unit. And we've also had students working on research fieldwork projects where they've actually done finds work and post-excavation studies as part of that material. This placements usually start, so again, the requirement is that students have to pass all their top courses. They usually start in May for a couple of months, and then there's a couple of months for the other complementary element that makes up the equivalent of the 60 credit dissertation. And those placements we give daily travel funding for students if it's within the Glasgow region. And we also have supported students on residential placements where they've worked in the Western Isles, for example, and in Orkney, where there is other funding available to students to apply for support for accommodation, because, again, we have quite a lot of international students. So again, they're in university accommodation, and sometimes, again, just to make that easier for people to take up other opportunities. So we have had students do these placements. They identify key learning outcomes, things like developing experience of cataloguing artefacts, for example, or particularly personal skills, where we've had students design information packs for visitors to cultural heritage institutions. So it's a very diverse thing. But we work with students, we identify the placement opportunities, we set them up. So it's all very supported learning, and then it's assessed by a Mahara e-portfolio to evidence the outcomes from the learning workplace. But if there's any other questions you've got on that, just put them in the chat.
Thank you, Nari. I think that might have also answered Zach's question, at least in part. Was asking, are there any employment opportunities within the program in areas like lab or fieldwork, and are they more integrated as part of the course? So I think Nari has answered that question as well, and that these placements are integrated within the structure of the course, and there are varyingly similar opportunities for the other for the two programs as well. I think the next question is, what kind of jobs do the graduates get, and do the current students have plans in mind? What have they gained that would help them in the future? Particularly about jobs outside of academia. So I think maybe Caroline and Finn could start, and then the rest can wait.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went into a PhD, so that's the first step for me. But I also don't intend to go into academia after I finish my PhD. I currently volunteer at a museum in Glasgow, the Glasgow Women's Library, and I'm quite keen to continue working in a museum. I did that during my undergrad as well. So I think, I mean, in terms of gain that will help them in the future, I think you gain a higher understanding of sort of the subject area that you might want to go into. But then also I think with higher degrees, you get a little bit more credit in pursuing sort of these types of jobs that I don't know if you could potentially get with an undergraduate degree alone. So I'm trying to think of something that other people I know in my course last year did. I think one went on to continue to do commercial archaeology. I'm trying to think of what else other people did, but that's sort of my answer.
I mean, in terms of direct plans, I'm going to sit down and soul search about that once all my deadlines are done for this semester, which will be the end of this week, to be perfectly frank with you. Although I would say I've got a much deeper understanding of both the industry and academia from doing my master's degree. Like, not only have I met far more people involved in these things, the way the information is presented, what's expected from you is much clearer to me now than it was a year ago. So regardless of what I decide to do, I feel quite equipped to either start like thinking about academia or start doing job applications to museums and commercial units and so on.
far more so than I was with an undergrad.
Thank you, Finn and Caroline. And Louisa, Marie, would you like to add something? And Ian?
So we have a really diverse range of jobs that our graduates have gone into. We have people who have going into, they've gone on to academia, like Caroline and many other students have gone on to PhDs, but also we've got people who have gone on to lectureships, and we've also got people who work in Historic Environment Scotland, in Treasure Trove, which is a really specialised area of artefact allocation here in Scotland from finds that come out of excavation, etc. So we have a really broad range of jobs that people go on to that are even within the sector and out with the sector as well, because you do get prepared for a broad range of skill sets on leaving with your archaeology degree. So I know that Nairi's got some really good examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sorry, we've got sort of tracking some of our graduates in terms of what they've done after the programme for material culture and artefact studies. We've got students that have went on to work as researchers, curators, lecturing staff, and getting junior academic positions, working in commercial archaeology as post-excavation managers, as well as field project directors now. And again, people that have went out with the heritage and archaeological side have also sort of transferred into law. We've got people who have taken on managerial roles, because there's a lot of other skill sets within archaeology in terms of team working, project management skills. I mean, these are all fantastic transferable attributes for you to go into a whole diverse range of careers. We've had people go out and do primary school teaching and retrain into counselling, for example. So there's a whole diverse range of jobs that our graduates from these programmes have gone to over the last few years. And some of our students have, from the last couple of years, my experience has been that students have walked into entry-level positions within 6 months of graduating. The journey and working, getting a career in museum and heritage is very challenging. But again, I think those students have persisted and have gained quite a lot from developing their networks, and also too just having a bit of practical experience as well to move forward in their career and what they want to do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, for the conflict archaeology, it's very similar story. You know, we've got people who are now lecturing in permanent positions. We've got people who are working for units in America, in Canada, in Britain, and so on. We've got people who have gone and worked in museums, in kind of museums where they dress up as people from particular time periods and all that kind of thing, the living history sort of stuff. Which again, you know, it gives them plenty of opportunity for writing research papers and so on. We've, given the nature of what we do, we've had some that go on to the armed services. We've also got people that have ended up in insurance, who've gone on to teaching in schools, a whole broad range of things like that. So the general picture is that people tend to get some kind of employment fairly quickly after they graduate. But it does, you know, it's not like the master's is a key to the door. It's one of the things which goes along with having the smedum to get up and do things, make contacts with people and push yourself forward. It's part of that whole range of things that will get you employed. It's not a magic bullet, but you know, it's something that you can use. And one thing to remember is that something like your dissertation or your professional placement report, all these kind of things, they are something that is a tangible product of your degree, and it's something that you can use to show what the measure of you is as a person, as a researcher. It's something that you can demonstrate to an employer, look, this is something I have achieved. I put all the effort into this. I made this happen. And honestly, if you want to know if I'm actually somebody who you can work with, this is actually going to show you that yes, I am. And it's the one thing that you take away from your degree, which is unique to you, because everybody in your class will have done the same course and written the same essays, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they'll have got various different marks because varying quality and so on. The bottom line is your dissertation or whatever your assessment at the end is something concrete that shows who you are and what you can achieve.
Thank you, Ian. You've seen in the chat, we've got about 5 minutes remaining for this session, and we've got a few questions that can be answered relatively quickly, I think. So there's one from Kadir, who is interested in paleo-environmental studies, and he's asking which of the programs would be most suitable. So Louisa, would you like to talk about landscape part of the MSc in archaeology, where I think this would fit?
Yeah, so we have our Professor of Environmental Archaeology and Scientific Archaeology covers that a lot in her work. So she's got real expertise in that area across different landscapes as well. So that is a really important area of scientific knowledge as well that we can bring into it. She does a lot of work on coring, on it's so diverse. She works with beetles. She works with all sorts of evidence that is in the landscape and across the different aspects of the landscape to understand how that landscape was used in the past, how it changed in the past, and how we can see that archaeologically. So those are probably that's Professor Nikki Whitehouse. Her courses on landscape archaeology and environmental archaeology, dealing with plants, animal, and people, are probably the things that are most relevant in that sense for you.
So yeah, that would be the MSc in archaeology, where you can then choose the courses that you are most interested in, and there are other courses that would give you a landscape focus that include paleo-environmental issues, but also more generally landscape studies. So that would be one pathway for you to get your own bespoke master's program.
Yeah, all of these things are really interrelated and contextualizing the information that you're capturing. So, yeah.
We've got a quick question for Ian about a conference, the Fields of Conflict conference. Will it be recorded or streamed?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to be making a certain degree of leeway for people to attend. One of the reasons being that I'm going to be there and I'm giving a keynote at it. One of the organisers, Ryan McNutt, who is a graduate of our master's programme and did his PhD here, he is trying to organise funding for getting students to the conference. So keep an eye open for what happens there. And we'll try and make sure that whatever the case, that you're not going to miss out. And certainly I intend not to miss out because I'm going to be there.
So as we begin to wrap up, are there any tips or advice that any of you would like to share with our prospective students in the chat today? But going forward into the program, maybe Finn or Caroline have something to add here.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask the staff for help. Like, they're not your enemies. This isn't an adversarial relationship. They're there to help you out. Send them an email. The vast majority of them will be really happy to do anything if you're struggling, if you have questions. If you, someone before asked if there was help selecting optional courses. I have asked the staff for help with that before. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd add on to that. I think also don't be afraid to take advantage of all the different opportunities. I think there's the Archaeology Society, ArcSoc, there's seminars weekly, and there's things beyond archaeology and like clubs and societies. I think just my recommendation is just to get involved as much as you can. I mean, I'm an international student, so I came over and one of the best things I did was get involved sort of immediately in a few different things, as well as the archaeology program in my master's. And that helped me feel like Glasgow was home, and made a big difference, I think, in the success of my master's and my decision to stay and do a PhD.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly emphasize that it's incredibly important that you use the opportunity to the greatest extent you possibly can. You've got a library here which is enormous. It's got a huge number of books in it. Get in there, run riot with it. You know, there is so much learning in there that you can take advantage of. Make sure that you go to all of the seminars. One of the things that we've always had on the course is people saying, why do we need to go to these seminars? Because it's not about conflict. Doesn't matter. It's about expanding your understanding of archaeology as a whole. You know, go to the archaeology seminars, go to the history seminars, go to the war studies seminars, go to classic seminars, go to all of them. You're getting this stuff presented to you for free. So make use of that. It is such a wonderful opportunity that you have, because, you know, you've got a relatively limited number of times you actually have to sit in a room and be droned at. Use the rest of the time to read, to study, to find out about things that have nothing to do with what you've signed up to do. What they will do is they will expand the way that you think. They will give you new ideas, new ways of looking at things. None of this is going to be a waste to you. It's only a waste if you don't use it. So don't make the mistake of coming along and being totally tunnel visioned about what you're doing. Treat yourself as somebody who, whatever the course you're doing, whatever the program is, you are here to find out about life in the past, understand humanity, etc., etc. Just go ahead and do it, because you'll never get an opportunity like this again.
I don't think anyone could have said it better, Ian. So thank you very much for what is this wrap-up discussion about coming here and learning about humanity. I think that's a really great way to end our session today. Just say that Ian, Louisa, Marie, myself, and perhaps also Finn and Caroline would be happy to receive questions. If you have any, get in touch via emails. We can continue these discussions and go into more depth than we were able to in the short amount of time available now. I know there were other questions that we weren't able to cover. Please, don't, as Finn was saying, don't be shy with one of our sites. Please email us, and yeah, and we look forward to welcoming you next year.